Hello and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 3 with the Black Eye submod, but we have started a new campaign on 10.33 and we are playing as France. This country got the most votes out of all of the options that were presented. There were quite a lot of votes for China and a fair amount as well actually for Poland. A couple for Japan. I think all of the options were interesting, to be honest, and I'm happy France won in the way because I've had a little look over them, and there's some options, let's put it that way, on what we can do in this campaign. So this video is going to be the start of this. It is the first of the first 36. I've done a few of the decisions off screen. I've sent some troops to Abyssinia. I've just jiggled around a little bit with a few of the events, but I've left the two important ones to do on camera. So, let's do the backstory. So, I always go for the political negotiator. I always go for the professor. Now, this time round, bearing in mind that we are playing a country with middling sort of across the board, really, I'm thinking that maybe none of these particularly are great, to be honest. They're all just little flavour things more than anything. I think I'm going to take the additional leadership, because that's some more officers and things, and that's something we might struggle with. And then I think we're going to take the prominent banker, purely because we get that IC. It's a very small IC issue, but a lot of money. That'll have a massive impact on our money. So let's get the prominent banker. And I think we're going to go with the army, because we could get some decent events around that. I mean, I've never done industrialist, and I wonder what sort of flavour text or event you get with that. But yeah, let's do an army one. Right, and I'm going to play this on normal. Yeah, we'll play this on normal. And let's rock and roll. So, annual national focus. Let's have a look at our build queue. Mainly naval assets. Mainly naval. Nothing sort of too crazy about that. So, I'm thinking we'll just go economy. And we will build some new manufacturing plants. Now, strategic resources wise, do we have anything? No, nothing in France proper. And by the looks of it, nothing over here in our colony here. We get fertile soil, which is useful, but again, no. Okay, so I think the moral of the story is that we don't have any major things that we can sell, unless I'm just missing something, but in fact it would show it, wouldn't it, up here. Okay, so we have the things that Britain has automatically. So that's actually moderately useful. They have 3 of the strategic resources, but none of them are our own. A new day is indeed dawning, so we get our character tile. And let's go through the difficulty of everyone. So, I think the Soviets we're going to put on normal. Now, let's leave these two to the end. Japan, I'm going to put them on normal, and I'm going to put China on normal. So, Italy. I think if we just put Italy on normal, that's fair. But Germany, on the other hand, they are an interesting one. I mean, a 25% buff to leadership seems a little bit extreme, but let's it's going to be hard enough on normal, isn't it? I mean, looking at the increases that they get. So let's play it on normal. Let's do a bog standard campaign. Everything's on normal. And that should be interesting. So, let's put time forward another day. So, I don't think we've had a crash, so that's good. So, production-wise, we know what we've got going on. I'm just going to let this carry forwards. Tech-wise, I've already set that up with a few sort of basic things that I like to put on. Politics. So, I've had a little run through this, and we haven't got anyone particularly useful or bad. Well, I say we haven't got anyone bad. This guy I'm not a fan of because of the minus 20%. And the consumer goods during peacetime with minus 2% isn't really that worth it. So Leon is going to be coming in here. This guy is the best of a bad bunch. I mean, minus 5% IC is not worth it. So yeah, I am not using that. So yeah, he's staying in charge. Again, I think this guy is the best of a bad bunch here. While the leadership would be nice, the daily descent change we can't handle really. Now, on this one is actually moderately interesting. We have a research guy here, an IC guy, and a laissez-faire capitalist. So I am tempted to go for the laissez-faire capitalist, purely because the money increase is going to be really important, and in these latest versions of Black Ice, having enough money is important. This guy I don't think is too bad, to be honest, for head of security. The money is nice, but I am more of a fan of Albert in this role because of the leadership, the espionage bonus, and the lack of national unity change. Well, actually, we don't want that minus 5%, do we? Because we want to increase this as quickly as possible. So this will be one time, actually, when maybe keeping this guy is a better idea. Okay, so political specialist is pretty useless. I mean, the ruling party support plus 10% is good, but I actually think the industrial specialist might be better in this. But you know what? We'll hold him for now because he gives that 5% bonus. None of these are great, but the supply consumption one's not too bad. Okay, so there's politics setup. Now, intelligence, normally I have a bit of a different spread to this, but we want to start raising that as quick as possible. So I'm going to actually do this, and then we're going to see how that looks. And I think that is everything for now. I'm not going to automate the trade, because I just want to see a single day, and I want to have a look at how our trade situation looks, and how our resource situation looks. So, a load of new events have popped up. We will create those, we will do this. Now, the Richelieu is a very interesting ship, actually. I really like the design of some of the French World War II battleships. They're very interesting, especially this one. This one has all of the turrets facing forward in quadruple mounts, which is a very cool ship idea. So let's have a little read. I'll just, you can pause this if you want, but the idea of the battleship class Richelieu was launched in the mid-30s to counter development in the Italian Navy and certain Italian battleships, 2 front quadruple turrets. Yeah, pretty interesting. We will indeed get that going. And France and Italy are set to randomly pick one of the 3 options. I think, let's have a little look at carrier tech. So, we do have some carrier tech pre-done. Closed hangar makes them slightly more expensive, but they do increase the hull strength. And that just grants morale bonuses. And you require closed hangars. Side elevator. So that increases it. So if you have an open hangar, you can have larger CAGs. I think we'll follow the British route and go for the closed hangar this time round. And we'll take the British armour as well, because I guess it would make sense. To give some context behind that, the British during World War II, their carriers were armoured and had armoured flight decks, whereas other countries didn't go with the armoured approach. I believe the Americans didn't have that many armoured carriers. And I think that Japan was a little bit hybrid. Some of their carriers were armoured, some of them were unarmoured variants. So, yeah, we've gone down the British route, where they had armoured flight decks. So, money for supplies, no thank you. let's have a look now at our situation. So now that the game's registered all of my changes, let's start putting a little bit into spies. And some more into research. So we've got most of the construction techs that I want to get going. I'm not that bothered about rocket tests. Let's get infantry techs up. I mean, tech-wise, we're not too bad, all things considered. We're in a pretty good spot, and I'm going to go over our OBE in a moment, because France, after just giving it a little look over, has an interesting setup here. I wouldn't say it's good, but it's interesting. It gives me something to work with, so we will definitely take that. Okay, and I'm just going to leave this like this. We're going to have very low officer generation at the moment because I'm not going to be building many infantry units for now. And we'll generate a few diplomacy points at the same time. Okay, so the army of France is interesting. It's going to take a lot of time to reorganize because it's very large. So we've got over 1 million men in the field. So we've got 400,000 there, 1 million, you know, if we add those two together, and an extra 250,000 there, and then another 200 there. So we've got nearly, you know, and if we include just some of these offshoots, we've probably got about 1.7, 1.8 million men in the field, which is not too bad. But this division composition is terrible. I wanted to do a division composition episode, and to be honest, France is the ideal candidate for having the worst division composition, probably other than Italy, in base game. This is terrible. I mean, so a few pointers. In my experience, it's never a good idea to have more than one sort of infantry style unit in a division. It's just a waste of manpower. So the situation where we have 2 garrison units with artillery and then a double up of artillery, this division is on paper, this division looks really good. In practice, this is not a good division because it's got no combined arms really, and what is there is too bulky. It's just not going to fight effectively on the front line. And all of the German... Or, sorry, I mean this here is ridiculous. Why would you put mounted infantry with garrison, with heavy artillery? This doesn't work. So we have a lot of brigades, but it's a mess. It's a complete mess. So... And then all of our tanks are in the HQs. It's bad. What we have going for us is that there is a lot of units, and we have a lot of things pre-built. So we've got a pretty decent motorized army, to be fair. It's not too bad. What I would change is, I hate medium artillery, and loads of our divisions seem to have medium artillery, so a large of that medium artillery is either going to go in garrison divisions, or it's going to go overseas to bulk up extra units, but yeah, I'm not a fan of those. We have a lot of tanks, so another positive is we've got a lot of quite decent-ish tank forces. So we've got a tank group there, we've got 2 more there, another one there. I could have sworn, yeah. And they're all with the HQ, so once we detach them, we can get a lot of tank brigades into either our infantry or our semi-motorized infantry divisions, which is, I think, probably the way that we're going to go with this. We also have a lot of mountain and light infantry, which are quite good for pushing into mountain terrain. So, I think for invading Italy, and I'm planning quite far ahead here, I'm going to need probably 10 tank divisions or something of that kind. Probably 5 to 10 miscellaneous divisions, maybe infantry or light infantry or maybe semi-motorized infantry, just some miscellaneous units, and then 10 divisions of mountain troops to push into the mountains. I think that would be enough to probably break through. Other positives, we have this fortress line, of course, the Maginot Line. And I'm still formulating my plan to defend against Germany. In theory, the plan that the Allies had during World War II might work. The issue with it is I have to hold a line like this. So I have to follow that river line like so. Whether or not I can do that, that's a difficult question, and we need to stop them breaking in through Sedan and Longuyon. I apologise to anyone that French that watches this, because yeah, my pronunciation might be a bit over all around the shop a little bit. So yeah, let's have a little run through this. So revolts wise, I really don't like the mechanic in Black Ice and the way it's implemented. I think it's pointless and stupid. Yeah, we will allow invasions. And then, yeah, we have an interesting choice here about development of planes. So, I'm going to favour, I think... What do we have? So, we're gasoline. And are we cast? I think we're cast as... Yeah, we are cast armour. So, gasoline, light aircraft, I think is the way that we're going to go, because those bonuses are pretty good. Let's go with that. And then for the revolts, let's have a look at revolt risk. I mean, it's not too bad, is it? I think we're going to do it. We'll do some revolts, because that gives us a lot more money. So if you look at the prominent banker, we look at the laissez-faire capitalists, the fact we're in the Allies, and we're on full civilian economy with consumer product orientation, we're going to make pretty decent money. And we can trade quite easily as... Yeah. Because we can trade with America and we can trade with the UK. So they've got a surplus of rare materials. We don't. We have a very good amount of money, so we just need enough to balance the books really there. So let's buy... Yeah, let's just do that. That'll do. And for metal, we're running at quite a deficit on metal. So I think the US is a pretty good trading partner. So we will buy a pretty huge wad of metal from them. Let's try and get running at a pretty decent surplus. Let's get a full 50 a day. And then energy, which I think we can probably go to the US for as well. Ah, the Soviets, actually. Or we can trade with Germany. Yeah, I think just trading with the US is probably going to be easiest. So, yeah, we will get that trade sorted. Okay, so we get some of our trucks, and then the Popular Front. So yeah, France was in quite an interesting situation historically at this time period. I'm not interested in doing that. That one we will do, and I think we'll do that one. Yeah, so France at this time period, and I think this is modelled in the game, is being run by... democratic socialism in Europe is a good way of putting it. So it's a multicolour alliance between sort of centre and centre-left parties, known as the Popular Front. So the idea of the Popular Front came from two directions. First, the left-wing view, following the February 6th, 1934 riots, and the far right had tried to organise a coup d'etat against, a coup d'etat against the Republic. Second, the Comintern's decision before the increased popularity of fascist population, which advocated an alliance with Social Democrats against the right. Thus, both the consequences of 1934 riots, which had removed the second cartel, I'm not going to pronounce that, from power, and the new Comintern policy seen anti-fascism as the main imperative of the day. So the people seem to want that, and I do wonder about this event, why we gain 10%. I assume that simulates the fact that there are dissenting voices from the right that don't like the Popular Front, and maybe the military as well. But we lose some popularity, and we do gain a pretty hefty national revolt risk until July, which is a shame. But yeah, France's internal politics of the period are very interesting. In fact, the politics really of Europe from about circa 1850 to World War II really is the politics, or the geopolitics, of France and Germany against each other. You know, going back to the Prussian War and the fall of the is it the Third French Empire under Napoleon the Third or Napoleon the Second? I believe it's Napoleon the Third, where of course Germany took Alsace-Lorraine from, well, it wasn't Germany at the time, the North German Confederation took Alsace-Lorraine from France and then formed Germany. And then you have all of the political infighting within France that led towards the First World War and the Dreyfus affair. So yeah, it's an interesting time in France. And France has always been, I mean, I don't know anyone that's watching this has any interest in European history, but France, in a way, is, I don't want to say it cultivated modern European democracy, because there's a variety of things. You can look back at the English Revolution with Oliver Cromwell and the institution of constitutional monarchy in the UK. But France, you know, with the revolutions, Robespierre and other people, it really did sort of solidify the idea of republics and democracy as a, well, maybe looking that far back for democracy is a bit strong, but the idea of individual free human rights really does originate quite heavily in France during the revolutionary era, although it's soaked in a lot of blood. I recommend, I mean, actually there's quite a good YouTube video by Simple History, is it? I can't remember the channel name, but you'll find it if you type in about the French Revolution on YouTube. And it's quite a nice little comical cartoon style historical breakdown of the revolutions in France. But sort of going back onto topic and putting time forwards, the French in the pre-war years did coalesce around a sort of leftist, more socialist stance, and that's, you know, not necessarily a bad thing. But the main reason that they did that was due to a fear of not only communism but also the far right in France, because there was quite a lot of anti-Jewish and anti-Semitism rife in France, as demonstrated actually by the Dreyfus affair. Dreyfus was I believe a French artillery captain prior to World War One, and he was convicted wrongly by the German military of being a spy for the Germans and passing military technology over to them. It turns out that it was actually someone higher up the chain, a colonel, that was doing that, but the military ended up having to cover it up. And, you know, I might have got some facts wrong in there and things. I'm not a French historian, but that's sort of the general basis. And Dreyfus is an interesting individual. He actually went on to fight in World War One and fought, by all accounts, extremely well at the Battle of Verdun. But of course, Dreyfus was Jewish, and he was persecuted in a lot of the right-wing French media. And the Popular Front at the time was extremely scared of a military coup d'etat. And, you know, it's sort of ironic, in a way, that they were so scared of that, because, of course, they had reason to be scared, because Pétain, or Marshal Pétain, eventually took power in France under the Vichy regime when Germany invaded in that sort of post-world, and the Vichy regime was very anti-Semitic. So, yeah, there's a little bit about French politics. And I will talk a little bit about French politics. It's something that I've taken a pretty recent interest in, actually. Okay, so I think we'll go for appease them because we get some extra money. I think artillery focus is fine. I think we'll go for the heavy anti-tank guns. Again, I think artillery's fine. I think artillery's fine. And I think we will give ourselves a little bit stronger tank destroyers. Okay, so here's a French event. And I'm probably going to learn during this series as well, because it's not something I'm particularly aware of. Okay, so 27 money for 20 rare materials. I'm going to decline that. And we get a new head of government. So let's take a look at him. Yeah, I'm sorry, game. It ain't happening. I am not putting that guy in charge. You can try as you might, but you ain't forcing that. And I think a lot of these ships that we're building are long-term investments, let's put it that way. Let's concentrate on some of the light cruisers for now, because we might actually stand a chance of getting them sorted. Okay, so we're not really losing much at the moment. Let's go back to the UK and do some more trade with them. So and we are going to need to do some supply trade agreements, I think, as a result of this. Got another rebellion there. Okay, so who needs supply? That is the question, because we are running a deficit now. So, supplies... Oh, we're not exactly swimming in them ourselves, actually, are we? But... Right, the US. And I don't normally show the economy stuff, mainly because I think it can be a bit dry. So I thought I'd do a little bit of this in this episode just to sort of show how I set up my country. Because I've realised that I never really show this on camera, and some of you might query how I play the game, so this is how I like to get things sort of moderately set up at this early stage. I think we are going to have to dedicate a little bit more to supply than we're doing. We can run a deficit for a little bit longer, but probably not for too much longer. Nope. Oh, actually, that probably would have been a good one, because that's a fuel one. Speaking of which, who runs a deficit of fuel? Okay, so Soviets, Japan, and Sweden. How about Sweden? No, they're not interested. Turkey. Nope. The Soviets. And it's interesting, the relationship between us and the Soviets starts at 0, and it isn't negative. I believe in 1936, Trotsky is being harboured in France. I think it's at this time. It might not be. It might be a little bit later, but... Okay, we're only getting a decrease of 45 now on that. Yeah, we'll take that metal deal, because that'll help with our metal. But yeah, I know that Trotsky was based out of France, sometime in the interwar years, and post the Stalinist takeover of the Soviet Union. Yeah, we don't need to do that. No, thank you. Okay, so these guys will want fuel, so we'll do the metal trade, but I don't want to buy fuel, I want to sell fuel. That one will take us positive, and we are still running a positive on the old money, which is good. Okay, and then there's some more French nationalists. But yeah, a large part of sort of, you can argue why the French army might have been in the state it was, is a fear really of giving the army too much power, due to the fact that they were scared of a coup d'etat. And there's a reason why the coup d'etat is French. Because, of course, quite famously, Napoleon launched a coup d'etat. Okay, so artillery focus. Okay, and then money and energy. Artillery focus. And I've talked a little bit more historically than I normally do, to be honest, in these videos. Normally I'm not very historical at all in them. But I thought that would make a nice change of pace. But thank you to everyone that did vote as well. I wanted to mention that. You know, I appreciate every comment that I get, every vote. It's amazing, really, that this channel has done as well as it has done in a year. I wasn't really expecting to get any headway whatsoever when it came to sort of how I expected this to go. I was just expecting to get a few subscribers and maybe a couple of views, but you know, considering I'm playing a game which is extremely old, the fact that this many of you are watching it and enjoying it does really mean a lot. So thank you very much. Alright, there we go. We're now running green on everything, which is amazing. What we need to start doing, though, is building up a little bit more money. Now, I'm not quite at the point where I can balance these two out, so we need reinforcement to come down a little bit more. And then we need to counterattack this division here with this cavalry. I'm going to do that because that's a lot of money and that'll bump us up even more. And I now know how much I need in supply to meet that. I would ideally like to sell some fuel game, not buy it, sell it to someone, if you would be so kind. No one's running that much of a deficit of fuel. Let's see if Canada would buy some. The answer is a definitive no. This is the problem with the trade game in Hearts of Iron 3. I find it a little bit scatty. Like, if they were running a deficit and they have money, they would buy it. Because they just would. Especially Canada. It's not like Canada and Germany don't, or sorry, Canada and France don't have a pretty long history. So, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, so someone's managed to steal some of our blueprints. And our national unity is increasing pretty quickly. Not great, but it's doing alright. And then let's just get this light cruiser out, because it'll be out by the April 3rd. And hopefully that means the other light cruiser that's in the queue will finish up as well at the same time. Although I am mighty worried about our supplies. So I am going to have to do something about that. We are very close. We've sort of stopped that breakdown a little bit. We would give them 225 money in exchange for fuel. No, no. Now, we don't have the best economy, do we, in the world, I must say. It does look a little bit dodgy. Right, Second London Naval Treaty. This was the British attempt to get everyone to stop building lots of warships. You can make the argument that the country that sort of suffered the most from this treaty was actually Britain itself. Because our shipbuilding during the interwar years was interesting, let's put it that way. And we had the most out-of-date fleet in many respects. Well, what this allowed other nations to do, really, in the interwar years was catch up with us. But it's understandable why this was sort of made, this treaty, because at the time, the idea of another naval arms race between the US, Japan, and Britain, you know, would not have been good for Britain. Yeah, I don't need to do that, and I don't need to do that either. Definitely don't need to do that. Okay. And we're nearly at that magic sweet spot number. Everyone wants to buy our supplies at the moment. I have to say, though, that this might be a little bit impossible to keep up, to be honest. Yeah, so let's cancel that for now. Just so we can build up a little bit more supply. Right, we now have 60 IC free, which is great. And let's rebuild up that supply a little bit. We're now running a deficit of 20 money. But yeah, plans-wise, I've got a few plans for how I'm gonna handle the Germans. I just realised I forgot to talk about the Navy. So, Navy-wise, the French Navy actually is in a pretty good position with what we have in the build queue. I wouldn't say it's great, but we have 5 battleships pre-built. Pretty large amount of heavy cruisers, so that's pretty good. 1 carrier, which, yeah, that might be useful. With several submarines, destroyers, and accompanying units. The navy we have here, if we were to position it out of Toulon and Marseille and out of Tunis and point it squarely at Italy, I think we would win a naval engagement with them, which is good. Air Force wise, we might as well group all of our air units together. So let's get everyone all over the world. Let's bring them together and have them all go to France. Yeah, it's not a huge amount of extra units that I have to worry about. So everyone form up. As you can see, we've got a pretty good air force here. 76 air units is really quite impressive. With a variety of different types. We've got some strategic bombers, we've got medium bombers, we've got light bombers, we've even got some close air support, and we have 18 wings of fighters, plus a very good naval air arm. So I can use that to really good effect again against the Italian Navy, because we've got 6 twin-engine fighters with 7 naval bombers. So how many wings can we make with that? We can only use half of them at the moment, but we can have sort of 12 planes dedicated, or sorry, 18 naval fighter sort of task forces. So what's 18 by 3? 6. We'll have 6 Air Force wings, which is really good. That's pretty decent. Let's build up that supply once again. Let the money drain out a little bit more. And we've had a few of our techs kick off. So yeah, we've had a couple of extra African divisions form up. Just some basic militia. But I'm going to have a think about how I rearrange all these units. Because we've got the basis of quite a nice little army here. We just have... I mean, this division composition is completely insane. Why would you have 2 cavalry divisions with a motorised infantry battalion? This makes me angry and makes no sense. So, yeah, I'm going to have to split sort of all this up. I mean, this here... Actually, if you add 1 armour in, is a decent unit. You just take the cavalry out, and then you convert them into semi-motorised infantry. You chuck in an infantry tank, and then build some artillery and some basic anti-tank. You've got a pretty decent semi-motorised infantry division at that point. I think we're going to get to June, and then I'm going to call it an episode as a starting point. Now, I've just realised that these are all running a little bit funky, so I need to just sort that out. Alright, I think we'll change this so it's running at half, so just 1 point into diplomacy. Right, and we're now having an issue with consumer goods again, which isn't great. Right, that amount of IC might be enough to just... Okay, who is giving us the best deal here? So, you I'm going to discount. I think the combination of these two is actually better than what the Americans are offering us. Okay, so up to 38 already on that one, and we can get engineer unit training there. I'm not bothered about trading with Liberia. Okay, I think we'll do that one with Peru. Heat wave in America. Yep, I'm happy to do that with Japan, because that is a lot of energy. Okay, so the Popular Front. We have not forgotten the night of the 6th of February 1934. We finally have a government of the United Left. And we will use this to heal the wounds left. And our labour laws will bring greater peace to the French economy. It's something to this day that the... you know, the riots that happened, unfortunately, in France... over the last few years is to do with pensions. And there you go, the French people are tired of seeing heads of government change with no improvement to their working conditions. Huge waves of strikes arise and the whole country is paralysed. Gain dissent, lose popularity, lose money. We are running perilously low on funds. Now you see why I wanted the banker in the game. A few of you might have been like, why is he going to use the banker? It's like the worst one for personality traits. Well, now you know why. There was a reasoning, and I'm going to have to do this for a minute. Purely because that amount of dissent is not good. And there was an election. Let's check that out, because we don't want people that we don't want to sponsor. Let's get the recon plane. Okay, so let's go back to politics. No. Yep, we're happy with him. Yeah, we'll take that. Laissez-faire capitalist, please. Leadership modifier. National unity changes. Oh, and this guy does supply throughput, so that's going to be good. Let's get this supply consumption down. That is one good thing. We can just immediately change things around how we want them. Right, yeah, so we'll keep the 36 tech going there. Oh, we should be doing that one as well. But yes, Vive la France. Let's see if we can't head off Germany. I've got some plans in the works on how I'm going to handle them. Realistically, these two provinces here are very weak to attack. We could break through, especially in this one, because it's only forest, which I think has a better... Oh no, Landau then. So we could break through in Landau, and then try and maybe do a little encirclement around like this river area of mines. And when Poland is being attacked, launch a small offensive. Minor, but a small offensive, but better than what the French did in real life, where they literally just did this. That's all they advanced. So we could try and maybe do a Mainz encirclement here with our tank forces, just to do a bit of early damage. Okay, and I'm going to do that artillery brigade one. Our tech is really strange, because in some places we're looking really good, and in others we do not look good at all. Yeah, we'll do that trade with Latvia. Decline both of those. And that is going to boost our supply output, which is great. That is very important. I do wonder if we need assault gliders. I think just doing the medium bomber tech would be useful at the moment. Let's keep our tech up to date. I think we're going to ignore some of the more difficult ones, so to speak. And then we need to do these two and the Special Forces one pretty urgently. Do we start with pack artillery? No. Okay, that's something we're going to need to rush pretty quickly. Well, hi there, Indochina. Or, to give it its proper name, I believe this is a part of Vietnam. I'm not bothered by that. Improved security center. We can construct police centers. That sounds useful. We are losing a lot of money, aren't we? Why is that? I have no idea what's causing us to lose money. It is most strange. We can't afford to keep losing money though, but just don't have the supplies. We're going to have to do something like this. Maybe if we trade with the USA again. They will buy all of the supply. Right, AFE, tanks and tracks, which is a good one. Let's get tank destroyer. And we've built our first light cruiser, so there's the beginning of our production queue finally being dealt with. And I think we should bung a little bit more into supply. We only need 4.1 to build that next light cruiser, so let's set it at that. And then everything else goes into supply. Camouflage infantry position, it's good. Tank destroyers we've got going. Yeah, fine on that. So we can jump into armament techs. Let's get machine gun focus. Let's get 500 kilogram bomb and twin engine bomb bay. Yeah, saying that we're only going to have 8 days worth of supplies. No, no, no. Don't need to do metal trades, so we won't. Alright, and then medicine advance is really good. It's a 35 level 1 now. Right, we're only losing 12 a day on that. Good. I think things are pretty balanced. It's just supplies that are looking like a problem now. And they shouldn't look like a problem because I am running positive on supply. Yeah, we'll do that just to get more energy. And we'll do that one to get more energy as well. Yeah. They're all worth doing. Yes, there we go. Games realise now that we're plugging more into supply. And there we are, June. So we've started this campaign pretty well. I'm quite happy with our progress thus far. The economy is running along at least nice enough. Our unity is tracking up very quickly. If we can get that to sort of circa 60 by the end of 1936, that would be great. And hopefully we'll lose some of these debuffs pretty quickly as well. Although some of these -5s, maybe we should try and get rid of them. Like you. Then again, you're the only thing stopping the daily descent change. Oh, actually, this guy. Let's get him. And then the silent lawyer. But I do like the silent lawyer's effect. Yeah, let's do him. Let's build up that national unity ASAP. But yeah, I'm going to call it an episode here. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye-bye.